48 Board of Education. May I have an approval of the agenda?
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor of approving the agenda as presented, please say aye and raise your right hand. Aye. Motion carries 1, 2, 3, 5-0. The other two are coming, but we have a quorum, so we can conduct business and proceed. All right, the facility tour debriefing session. Thoughts and reflections.
So what I thought we'd do is to spend, I've got 3 questions that are intended to guide this process. They are, what were the highlights from the tours that you saw? What do you believe the needs of the tour facilities are, or how do these needs observed today impact what you believe the needs were prior to our facilities tour? And then the final one is what additional information can our operations team provide, or what additional questions would you like our operations team to look into based on what you saw today? Want to use this as an opportunity to celebrate what we've got going on, but also address those needs moving forward. This impacts what we can do with our capital outlay plan, potential bond issue, information coming as we transition to a new subcommittee for the bond, as well as new board members coming on. And so I wanted to be able to maximize this opportunity as we hit that transition phase. And then that last question is just that organizational effectiveness of, okay, what questions still exist that we can operate from and get you that that information to be able to lead and move forward. So I'd like to spend some time here. What I'd like to do, if it's okay, is kind of where we are split up here, is have this side kind of discuss the first question in small group, like workshop session, and then this group as well discuss that first session. And then after about 2 or 3 minutes, then we would just kind of discuss together what that question dealt with. Does that work? Sure. All right. So the first question, have you discussed together on within your sides of the table there, what were the highlights from your tour today? And then we'll share it out for the public.
For me, at least, I thought the highlight I was super happy really was each building that we were in, whichever administrator was walking us through did a really nice job of not having it be a gripe fest. You could have very easily gone into this and this is terrible. They were doing it. Do you see how bad this is? But every single thing was like, yeah, we have problems, but we're working past them, and it was very, very positive about their ability to function. It was certainly like, oh, you were, yeah, she was there. So that was, but like, making it work, and the workarounds that they were coming up with, I thought were really, really good. So for me, that's from personnel standpoint, that's what I would say the highlight was. Really? Great.
Wow.
So the question is, what we are workshopping is, what were some highlights from today?
I was right behind you.
We already said ours, so that's your turn.
Oh, well, not to highlight any, I hate to highlight one person, but anytime you get to see Mr. Bailey teach, that has to be a highlight.
Well, he's Kansas teacher of the year, selectee for a reason.
Yeah. And overall, I'm very proud of, I was sitting with I'm just proud of our staff. And the people who are serving as caretakers, that was impressive. And very relieved. In my tenure, 2 tenures, there have been a lot of times where there are heating and cooling problems. I'm not sure we have any of that at the moment. Yes, which is delightful.
There's a lot of new HVAC systems.
Yeah. As far as highlights, I think that what they've done, especially the IC.
Yes. Yeah. Less about operations, but I mentioned this to you earlier, but just how positive all the climates were in each of the buildings. Like, not that they were ever negative or anything. Right. Yeah. But just, I mean, I was in DC. There were lots of hellos and how are you doing in every single building, and just that kind of piggyback to what you said earlier too about that willingness to problem solve, even like what we have, but also we've got just generally the right people who are positive forces in it for our kids. And there's that climate issue or that benefit that our kids are receiving as well, and they're also capable of solving problems that are currently available to them, but also ones that are
Well, they
coming
had
up.
short weeks, they were doing STEM classes.
I noted that also,
And
so I don't really have anything to add.
Each little center.
As a leader, you have to be able to honestly identify challenges,
STEM was the
but
big idea,
there weren't excuses.
There was not one.
And that has everything to do with professional climate and culture. It's very can-do attitude, not like a, oh, there's nothing to see here, that's nothing, no. We would love if it were possible. Of course, I mean, there was advocacy, but it was all in the mindset of solution-oriented,
And how hard
and
is
it was very natural.
Right.
We just forget that.
Like we were at the PC,
So many
she
details
said it's basically like, there's not a whole lot of gigantic needs here.
Right.
And like, I feel like some administrators would say like, we could really use a new baseball field there. I mean, but she was honest in the appraisal, like, this is the newest building. Building generally works like we wanted to work. We had to do some shuffling of music's over here now, where it used to be better, I lost it, but there was acknowledged that there's other more needy resources.
Yeah.
All right, are we close to opening out here? Okay, so now is the opportunity to kind of share across the table some of those highlights. And for this particular piece, I don't want to kind of direct this side, that side, but just open it up. What were those highlights that your side of the table discussed that stood out based on what you saw today?
I'll just can I just run through the
Go right ahead.
the 5 things
Megan's
that we
also
have?
taking notes within a.
So Susan and I got to march with the band at the high school, which was,
Oh,
which was a
really?
lot of fun. We weren't expecting it, but they were practicing, and that was a unique, fun opportunity. They just invited us right in.
And I did a great
Yeah, and Susan is a professional marcher. She should
pivoter. That was
Pivoter,
what
yes.
And I did a really good pivot.
So Mr. Dodge and Susan and I also got to observe a music class at the IC where they were doing something that we hadn't seen before with some sticks that went with a PowerPoint. The entire class was very focused and engaged, so that was a really neat experience. The high school bay, the library here, and the cosmetic enhancements to the high school has got to be a highlight for probably all of us, I would hope. We thought that the IC conference room, what Mrs. King has done there was pretty cool as well from a cosmetic standpoint. And then we, as a group, really enjoyed the teaching and learning observations that we had in the afternoon. So those are our 5 highlights.
Well, what I said was not specific, but more general in the sense that, today's going around and meeting the administrators and looking through the buildings could very well have easily turned into like a gripe session about these are things that are really bad, these are the problems, with these we need to fix it. And it wasn't that at all in any building. They were certainly very honest about hey, these are some issues that we're dealing with. But this is our workaround for doing that, and so at no point in time did it feel like anything other than positive. Even taking those negative things and turning them into being highlight overall was just more, not so much the actual buildings, because there are problems with those, but
The attitude.
the attitude of making it work. So that to me was my highlight.
Anybody else want to add anything?
I discovered that junior high fraction math is my sweet spot. Like, it's just hard enough for me. After that, I think I'm lost. That was delightful. I got to work on a whiteboard at my desk, show my work. I got to sit in with 4 teachers today and watch them work, and it was just delightful. It makes you very proud. This is a challenging role we all take on, and I'm very grateful we had an opportunity to get in the buildings and see how it pays off. It's lovely.
Want to add anything?
No, good.
Basically was what Phil said. In a nutshell, the culture and climate is such, and all of that begins and ends at both ends of the spectrum on that, with leadership and also on the other end of students. I had students who felt comfortable, both saying hello and thank you, and also, hey, have you guys ever looked at this? That's a climate of trust, of input. It was not disrespectful. Same thing on the other end. And that doesn't happen in a vacuum. That is culture and climate is cultivated. And so I really appreciate being able to see that folks felt the ability to be authentic and identifying what the challenges are, but also we're modeling for our students what we always ask of them, which is to be solution-oriented, to be honest but be respectful, and to be collaborative, and that shows in the relationships that we have here. That wasn't new information. It was just nice to be able to experience 8 hours of it in a row without getting online. It was a happy bubble.
Absolutely. Anybody else? Any other thoughts to share?
I just want to say one of the things that I do when I go to other school districts is and do walkthroughs, I ask, what are you learning instead of what are you doing? And students will either say what they're doing or what they're learning. And so I did use that strategy, and every single time the students could articulate what they're learning, not just what they're doing, which really speaks to the clarity of the bigger understanding of what they're learning, not simply I'm doing this.
All right. Any additional thoughts? All right, so we'll take the second question, same operation, same method here. What do you believe based on are the needs now based on the tours that you've taken, and or how have these observations today impacted what you believe were the needs before you had the tour? So go ahead and have your discussion, and in a few minutes we'll join back up.
Regardless, I'll write the notes for somebody else gets it.
And then we have two bond committee people in this little group.
Better
Not to
understand.
kiss up, but I think our bond was
Junior high and high school especially, but
targeted
also
very accurately. The
building
CTE
somewhere,
stuff is
standing there and
Yeah.
stands out as an opportunity
thinking
for
about
improvement.
myself as a student in
Yeah,
every
but
school
that was
too, and
the big
what
standout
happened.
thing for me. You know, all
And
the
I
other
think it's
stuff.
probably because we had pretty good
Didn't
conversations
even have
about
to walk in there,
what
and
to
I'd
do
never been in the
when
draft. I'd been in the metal shop and the wood shop before, and they're both like, yeah, that's a metal shop. But then you go in that little room with all those drafting tables on it. That they're
Well, we
fully
talked
hard.
about
Doorway access.
It's pretty amazing to me that Mr. Arnold's able to do what he does
The one that's missing.
in that setting with that stuff.
PC,
to me.
IC,
So,
excuse
I
me,
mean,
numbers are waiting
that's
on
something
the
that
server or
should happen a long
something,
time ago.
I think there seems to be challenges.
Same for culinary.
Yeah,
Even
yeah,
as we were
correct.
getting our tours of getting-
I've been in that room before, but that was the first time, like, to actually, and there's kids in there
There's key
working.
cards
You
don't work
know,
on
just,
places that these are key other places.
it was not. I mean, that was more outdated. That would have been outdated when I was in school.
Storage.
But so that one to me is like that's a big deal.
Yes,
You know?
yes.
There definitely seems to be a concentration in junior high and high school. Not that there are needs at the BC and the IC, but they,
Storing stuff and good usable teaching.
we're using these facilities
There's
different
frustrating stuff on
than
this.
even 10 years ago. I mean, so some of the things that they're trying to flex that to do,
Like
they're
a cafeteria,
you
remember
know,
the both sides?
shoestring together.
Extended learning class, yeah.
That doesn't have
Yeah.
like this. Like the culinary is a good example. Even the junior high
Storage and access.
locker room situation is not great down there. I mean, you know about it one time. They have fixed it, you know, the girls' side to some extent, but there still needs to be worked out.
Yeah, and all of those. I mean, yeah, the locker room is not great, but I feel like the CTE is like detrimental.
Yeah,
I mean, like that's big.
It can be good for people.
Right. I mean, it's just like I just. I mean, maybe it's good because it teaches people how to work in that kind of situation, but I mean, it could be so much better.
Yeah, for sure.
To me, that had some emotional improvement.
So then.
They got rid of it,
they
silly.
get rid of it, So then they have to spend $1,000 to get a desk if the next teacher.
If we should lose Mr. Harmon, you know, he's not a young kid.
Yeah, so we hate to
Yeah.
have.
Recruiting somebody to that situation and telling them, run, make this your, it's.
Well, I mean, anytime, I mean, his Dutch shop looks like my shop, and I'm the only person in my house that can find anything, because I know where it is, and so when he does leave, you know, it's gonna be like, where's this thing? And there's just not enough room, because you gotta move this stuff out of the way to pull this stuff out, and then put this stuff away to pull this stuff out, so.
Yeah, that's what Andy said.
It does make me think, even in our bond, that building, I think you said this, and I was like, oh, I think that's right, but that CT building wasn't gonna be big enough to do just what we wanted, what he would
After
need.
walking through down like.
I was impressed with how
Two on top of two.
those two things that
Yeah.
you guys came up with, the storage issue just kept coming up.
I mean, it confirmed all the other stuff that was in the law that we want to do. It was all worth doing. It wasn't, there wasn't anything that was like, oh my gosh, why would we want to fix that?
And also, I don't remember how much of this is in the bond, but the camera coverage at the high school is kind of shocking. school.
Say that again.
The camera coverage at the high school.
Oh, gotcha.
Oh,
Well, that's affirming to me with what we are
I do really like the ones
Yeah.
where they go to the wood.
doing.
Right.
That's
The other thing that I found affirming, I don't know if you guys had a chance to see any of the student success teachers in action. But the need for
and the one where the wire.
trying to, as best as possible, protect their positions. There's just understanding
That's a gap.
how that
assistance.
bridges
Yeah.
academic success. It's not new information, but it was affirming seeing it.
I don't know what kind of conversations you guys have in there, but
The other thing that struck me too was,
it looks like a
and
shop.
I've done this in my own life sometimes where I mistakenly say, encourage folks to do their own research, and I've been trying to do better about this, and instead say, do your own homework. Research is a multi-step
Oh, yeah, that's
actual
actually-
process that begins with the hypothesis. And, so when I say research, like going to Google isn't researching, that's doing your homework. I do the same thing when it comes to talking about compliance of ADA. And Kelly Hefner made that good point. There's a difference between being compliant, which is here, and being welcoming and hospitable and having it be functional to the degree that we want. There's nothing that's out of compliance, and sometimes I interchange that. So I need to do better about that. But I think there's things that it makes me happy how we voted with the chairlift last night, even though, because there's spaces in this building, that if that is your situation, you know, if you're up here, it's very difficult. And that was very eye-opening. I've read about it, I've visualized it, I've seen some of it, but being able to kind of like imagine back here, if I'm trying to get to, and we have to keep this prop. It helped me to live it in a more of a way that could more closely empathize with the experience of that without actually knowing what that feels like. So to me, I thought that was useful.
And to some of our community members that have seen it, I heard that, it just needs cleaned up, it just needs cleaned up, but.
It's not that it's bond related, so some of the concerns in the junior high with, like the fencing related to like where the buses pick up at. I mean, there's several little issues like that where, I mean, it's already retrofitted building from years ago. It's being repurposed for a junior high.
I just think that's a
And when we added on that, the PLC, that cost, the complexity comes to things like dismissal and supervision and all those things that they figured out, but we could be more
ready about how to come together?
Set it up going forward.
Are you ready to come together? All right. So, just to kind of debrief, based on what was seen today, what was observed today, how does this impact kind of your beliefs prior to what today allowed you to see, or what do you think are needs now? What are they like? So I'll just open it up to whoever wants to go first.
Well, we were kind of all on the same page really with some of the like technology with camera needs. Key cards, we saw several issues with key cards and accessibility to get in. And with the cameras not covering places that we felt like needed to be covered, which is funny because we had that conversation last night, and had I not lived it and stood there and seen that, I may not have ever, not that I'm shifting, I still believe we need the chair. I do see it as both and. Definitely the breezeway between the high school and the junior high, just being wide open like that with the weather, and is there anything that could potentially happen before we can get it solidly enclosed? Tony brought up, and we all agreed on the storage issue. Every building we were in, there was this problem with storage, and the things that they are storing, bless their hearts, like one building stores all the paper for the entire district. Other buildings are having classes in what look to be storage rooms. And do you want to add on to that, Tony?
No.
And then, of course, we were sad about especially the one that doesn't have the new wood lockers, but the locker rooms state of juniors. Yeah.
And one comment we added about the storage is there's such a demand for storage that maybe an economical solution would be to just, it wouldn't necessarily have to be on a particular campus, but to have a warehouse type building, just a simple basic metal building with a big purple and white with a bulldog on it that is just district storage. I mean, that would be, that doesn't have to be $300 a square foot like our bond project, I mean, it could be something that could be $60,000, $70,000 or something. I mean, maybe that's low, but, for less than $100,000, you could probably get, and that could really open up our usable space within the district and all the buildings, quite honestly.
I could actually get you a number for a rudimentary building that we just put up at the golf course to house the dozen golf carts. Yeah, I think.
Oh, you just built one, you mean?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. I could get you an exact figure, but yeah, they go up pretty quickly if you don't need climate control.
I think that's something, if you want to send that to Nate,
Yeah.
just to give us a ballpark idea of what we'd be looking at.
So we talked a lot about, our staff is doing an amazing job delivering, but CTE as the bond reflected is a major opportunity for improvement, I think. They're doing a lot with a lot of equipment that is outdated and an outdated space and culinary shop, you name it. It needs work.
We did discuss that too. It just wasn't on us, but yes.
I think my takeaway was that, I think Andy had said this, was that the bond was really pretty well tailored. I mean, there wasn't anything that we had in the bond as a need that I walked through and was like, that's not really a need. And there really wasn't anything I saw walking through where I was like, oh man, we should have included that. I mean, I feel like our homework in proposing what we wanted to propose in the bond was pretty accurate, and it really just reaffirmed that, yeah, everything that we've been talking about needing to get done really needs to get done.
Yeah.
There's definitely a concentration of beyond capital outlay projects at the secondary campus over here, but whether it be locker rooms at junior high or the CT facilities or the breezeway. I mean, any of that stuff is all kind of concentrated in this one location, or both these locations, I should say, secondary campus. But a lot of things at the IC and PC that we saw are things we probably addressed through multiple years of capital outlay allocations. But I mean, it'd be quicker obviously to do some of those things via bond, but certainly there's going to be a requirement for some of those improvements for bond up in the junior high and high school, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exclamation point to what Dr. Harvey said. The only thing I would add is that one of the conversations I really appreciated having today here at the high school from Vice Principal Hefner was just that whole conversation about the difference between being compliant and also reaching for excellence in a nutshell. I mean, we never want to be mediocre in anything we do, whether it's academic goals or facilities or resources or the quality of staff. And thinking of that in that same way and applying that to the paradigm of accessibility in general. There's nothing here that is not compliant. That would be against the law. In terms of ADA, we're not uncompliant. Incompliant, thank you. But in terms of mobility in various areas, there are ways that we could be more excellent.
Yes.
So,
Absolutely.
It might be non-compliant.
non-compliant. There it is. It's been a long day.
Yeah. Too long.
I think this is a record of board meetings in a 12-hour stretch.
Yeah.
I think.
I think
Is this
so.
right?
Just in straight hours.
There have been some that felt like they were way.
This did not feel like a long board. I was just fascinated, engaged, and thoroughly enjoyed my day and felt like it was overdue, I guess. For me personally, I'm not traveling to schools, but my kids already graduated, so.
It is something that being able, in my position, being able to walk in and see, pop into classrooms or go and talk with our principals and have them show the different needs. It's really cool for you to experience that. I'm thankful that you took the time away from your careers to come in and do that today. This is, to me, it's one of my favorite things to do, and I'm glad that we got to do that today. The last question that I'll have you, or the last topic here to reflect on here is, what additional information can our operations team provide you today that based off of what you saw, or what additional questions come to mind that our operations team can begin looking into to help us move forward? So,
Small group first, or?
yeah, small group first, and then we'll kind of debrief. And Megan has been capturing these thoughts on a running document for us to be able to look at as our operations and academic teams. So.
I don't know that this falls into the purview of operations or not, but like a couple of locations that came up where hiring for non-certified to classified staff is a challenge, because we are, like as an example, our secretaries make less than our paraprofessionals in some circumstances now, because we've raised our rates to get paraprofessionals. We get through analytical's efforts there. We've now outpaced some of the entry level, so to speak, jobs for our district as well. So then it may be worth running the numbers and say, if we did add additional, let's say, dollar onto that starting wage for classified positions here in the district, what would be the budgetary implications of doing that? I don't know how many non-certified staff we have. Like for the co-op, it's literally like 50 grand per dollar, because we've got 100 some odd non-certified employees. But I'm not sure what that looks like for the district.
I think what I remember that Ms. King told us that the starting wage for secretary is, oh no, it's Mr. Walsh.
Yeah.
But it's outpaced by perks. Like you make more money now. Yeah, you make more money, go just start at Burger King and be a secretary. Hold the keys to the kingdom.
Right.
Being the face of our building.
Well, the security and the, all the responsibilities. So I think that's totally worth it. For me, the question I would like, I would certainly, again, everybody keeps using the words wants and needs. I think lots of people want what they need, right? So I think you can call things wants. I mean, I want to eat. But I also need to eat. I want to be able to breathe, but I also need to breathe. So that's stuff that we're doing are not just wants. I mean, they're wants and needs. Anyway, as we kind of go through this and see what happens with the bond, I also would like to two-prong approach it and say, like, let's do as much as we can through capital outlay as we go through this. But that's going to require us to be pretty laser focused on what because we're just our pool of money is going to be a lot smaller, and we can't really do it all at once. So from each building administration, maybe a list of like, these are our top priorities of things that we can do, and then we can start ticking down that list. Do we have $15 million to build a new CTE facility? No. But do we have enough money that we can turn this bathroom up here into a bathroom? Probably. So I'd like to see a list of their priorities, and then we can just start working our way down the list as we can, so that we're not just like, sorry, you got to keep dealing with it.
Yeah, and a good example of that is like that breezeway. Like we could solve that problem for $150 grand. Well, it's not like the long-term solution that gets put in. Thing, like it's not great, but it will increase the security every time. But is that really worth our effort if we continue doing something?
And I would want to do that focused in not what I think should happen, but what the administration and the building, principals, vice principals, and teachers think that these are our needs. So even them collaborating a little bit, coming up with a list and saying, like, sky's the limit. Yeah, put CTE number 1, that's fine. Put culinary number 2, culinary 1 and CTE number 2, that's fine. But realize we're probably not going to be able to do that, but at least we can start working down that list. And then when we finally do re-put forward the bond, but whatever happens with that, we can say, well, like, we've done these things, those things don't need to be in there. Now we can apply it to these things, and we have kind of and maybe we kind of already do have a continuing list like that, but at least just something that's a hierarchical order importance to the people who are in the building working with it every
Because
day.
like the capital outlay plan plays that out for years ahead. It doesn't necessarily say, like, there's a flooring line item, like, how is that different for the high school versus the junior high?
Yeah, just from each, because like Mr. Waltman wanted to replace all his flooring that's splitting apart and buckles and stuff. Is that the most important thing to him, or does he want to keep those student teachers or the student success teachers for their ESSER funded right now? Because I'd hate to go and spend a bunch of money on the flooring and lose the ESSER teachers, or I'd hate to,
don't spend a lot of time.
Have the flooring tear up and keep the ESSER teachers. He's like, well, we don't really need them. We really need those floors, So just a list in order so that we can kind of reach for as high as we can to get the most important ones we can, and then just work ourselves down.
what is your vision for storage? Because I feel
But a really
like
specific
they
one, not just
had
the general.
thought this,
Like actual
Or
legitimate, like
have-
these are the projects.
Yeah, and I bet they have. I bet there's something at least going on.
Question to you guys.
Well,
What is your vision?
and following up from last night.
Maybe not. Maybe there's.
To me, it's just an affirmation of the process of why
It was the
board members don't inappropriately go down and say, I want you to fix that crack.
Right.
Because that crack may be meaningless
Short of moving
to
it from one place to the next.
the people who actually work in, so it affirms the health.
But that is-
When
that is
when it's structurally healthy organizationally, it affirms the process of, we're supposed to have the 30,000 foot view. Yes, be involved,
Yeah, we're just
have an
moving
understanding of what's going on, be
moving stuff
involved.
around.
Yeah.
But do your homework, not your research. But you have to listen to the people who actually are working in the buildings and have a good process of chain of command for that.
We can't deal with
To me, that is exactly why we don't, you don't do it that way.
But one of the things that came up to me,
And I wanted
But we
to-
need to
I'm
know
sure
sort of what
prior
those
to
are,
that,
and
but
skeletal.
when we had that proposal for the
fully
bond earlier, there was some concern about it was going to be reducing the amount of light to go to the art room, like, which is around the corner of the high school. And it had never crossed my mind before, but that impacts the way maybe we can teach in there, because I would have passed in that.
It would have required us to put different lighting within a room.
Yeah, so they just would have
So
required
you're
some
throwing
ripple effects
artificial
of-
light
yeah.
versus natural.
So,
Yeah.
So we talked about that.
So I think
It wasn't
today, if
like-
anything, was
but-
before.
Yeah, no, I see your point.
But yeah, like, to that, I mean, like, we didn't care about that, or
Right.
just like drove it home, like, we're not gonna just deal with that key, like, that's not a great solution or empowering to,
Right.
or as a professional either, you know, so getting that input from her was important.
Facilities that we have now.
And we should
We're doing a
continue.
good job of that, I think. I think it's remarkable. Buck, are you ready? Let's take the next.
You guys ready? All right. Last review question
You're
there.
actually gonna have to help me out.
What more would you learn? What more information would you like, or what questions do we need to provide answers for from our operations team perspective?
I'm gonna throw it on to you guys. The ball's in your court. You guys go first.
My thought was to, when we, as we tried to do this bond, I think that would have been encompassed, 99.9% of all the things that we needed to do. And I think that we're still gonna be pursuing trying to do stuff through a bond. But in the event that a bond doesn't pass, or in the interim time, I would like to see from each building what their, I think I used the word hierarchical order of projects they need to get done, so that we can attack those from capital outlay as we can. And in a fashion that doesn't really put Band-Aids on things, but actually fixes them, so that when we do finally get a bond, whether that's in a year or 5 years or 6 months or whatever that is, that we can say those things no longer have to be in the bond because they're fixed. Because there are things that we can improve as we can improve them, that we don't have to wait on a bond. And so, and I think that should come from the building, the A team saying, hey, these are the things that are really important to us to get fixed, as opposed to us saying, this is what we think you need to have fixed.
Yes,
So I don't know if we've done that, or if, I think we have certainly the multi-year capital outlay plan of stuff, but I think having just something that's bullet pointed specific, like, hey, look, we really need the new flooring in the IC, or we really want, and the IC is really important for us to continue to keep these student success teachers that we're losing ESSER funds for, stuff that we can apply our money to, where the people that are in the building every day say that they would be best applied.
Since Mike's not here, I can say this, and he can't counter me on it. When we went to Greenbush for that operation and facilities workshop last week, we learned the process of doing the facility needs assessment. And one of the things Mike talked about was getting back here and meeting with our principals to do one of those facility needs, and it's a pretty thorough process. It covers about 8 different scope areas to do just what you're talking about, to prioritize that. So without him here, I don't want to say yes, he's doing that, but he discussed that as, this is something I'd like to do with the principals. So
Yeah, it'd be neat to see almost like a parallel to that 3-year staffing plan, but like the 3-year capital outlay.
And that's exactly what you do. You
Yeah.
take that, and it helps then inform the capital outlay plan
Yeah.
with, which, as you're talking, what do we look at scoping out with capital outlay? What other funding options do we have for it? And then how does that intersect with bond opportunities?
Yeah, yeah.
So, absolutely.
One of the things we discussed over here was, and I don't know what this costs or what we've done these numbers yet, but consideration for increasing pay for classified employees, came up in several buildings, we're having trouble finding good candidates for different positions, as well as having a competitive wage for those positions. So I don't know what that, like as an example, if we added $1 per employee or something like that, what does that equate to on the budgetary side across the board?
Nate and I've had that conversation before. Nate, you're here, so I can throw you into the conversation. We've talked about the need to really study our classified salaries. I overheard Harris can work for us just around $12 an hour. They can go and work for the interlocal for $13.
Right.
That's creating some challenges there. We've also got cooks trying to increase the pay that we provide for cooks, and it helped a little bit, but we're still looking there. So, Nate, you and I talked about talking about that.
We've already kind of begun the process of looking at that. Unfortunately, it's not going to be an overnight fix, but yeah, it's been a couple months now since because we know there's a need.
Yeah, it'd just be helpful to see that kind of figure. Like I know for the co-op side, every time we increase $1, it equates to like $50,000 for the whole organization across all 120 classified employees, or whatever.
Yeah, it's going to be similar to what we did at food service last year.
Yeah.
But the problem is there's such a gap that even if we moved a little bit, that's great, but it's hard to.
We've got
in case it had to be
some.
really close.
We've got some secretaries, some staff who've been in these positions for a long time, and so figuring out that sweet spot for that entry level pay is huge.
Right.
Well, and the other thing to consider too is if let's say we raise the base, then we have to raise everybody else to meet that as well.
Yeah, and trickle that up.
Because then you're shifting like this.
Yeah.
While we also have added positions such as food service. So it's that push and pull mechanism of we need to add people, but then also we're trying to balance, and it's a balancing act for sure.
Yeah, and then our maintenance year coming up as far as ESSER, I mean, it's just everything is colliding.
Yeah. And knowing that it is a lot of work, it's something that Nate's been looking into. It'll take us time to get there, but we need to address that.
I appreciate that.
Well, and Andy, add on or correct me if I say this incorrectly, but I'm pretty sure through negotiations we did increase, extra duty?
We did extra duty.
Yeah. So that was, and I think fairly significantly.
It went up $2.
Yeah, so I know that's a low volume deal, but they were having trouble.
Yeah.
Encouraging filling.
Struggling to get people to fill those
Yeah.
positions, absolutely.
And that moved the needle in the right direction for sure.
Yeah,
It's
gate
just an
workers,
ongoing.
scoreboard people.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And we have several staff that do take
$3.
It went from 12 to 15.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah.
Oh, so it was $3, not $2. Okay.
So our group talked a lot about the kind of stuff, Phil, that you brought up, right? And I want to commend all the principals at the schools, because you guys see the issues, right? And you have a vision for what you want it to be like, whether it's bus pickup at the junior high, or outside classroom facilities, or changing the floors at the IC, right? What's helpful for us is to know what those big projects are, and to not see detailed plans on those, but to see skeletal plans that we can sort of prioritize as a board, sort of say, let's see if we can figure out ways to start chipping away at those particular projects. And I think you're right, Phil, the more we can do that and do some stuff without having it be a part of a bond, the greater likelihood passing a bond in the future is going to be, right? Because there's some stuff that's so large that we can't take it on, right? But we can, but we can figure out a solution for the buses, right? And to come up with a solution that's not just a temporary sort of let's see if we can fix it for the time being. To really come up with something that's a good semi-permanent solution that'll last. Right? And so that's what's helpful for us. That's what was helpful for me today, was to actually visually see what you guys see every day, to experience it and to sort of say, oh gosh, yeah, these are issues that we can tackle, right? But I think you all have the expertise in terms of, because you're in the building all the time and you're probably thinking about this all the time, how can we address these issues? What kind of plan can we develop? And so that's sort of what we talked about, without getting into specific projects. Anything else?
Okay, those were the three reflection questions I had. Beyond that, are there any additional thoughts today that you want to share?
Oh, go ahead.
I think this needs to be done more frequently.
Yeah.
Yay!
I think so.
Right? It is a day that we have to rearrange some stuff for all of us, right? But the value of today was immeasurable for me. And that's coming from somebody who was a bit of a skeptic, because I was talking about it last night and saying, I'm off the board in 2 months. I'm not sure why I'm going to look at these schools, right? But I thought it was great and eye-opening. And it made me want to put my name on the ballot. Too late.
Tony, there you go.
Right into I appreciate you saying that, because I know when we were working on the strategic plan, in the spirit of keeping it real, that was a little bit of a sticking point when we were trying to figure out, like, let's do a board tour, guys. Come on, guys. How many times a year are we willing? So we structured it very loosely. The board will at some point over the year, but it does show the value, and that makes me excited for future boards to continue that practice, because it's a good one to be in the buildings and to see the people at work and the kids at work and to understand upfront what's going on all the time.
Yeah, I think at a bare minimum it should be annually, and then I think we should do it anytime there's a major change. We finish a big project, and we should all go look at that. Just say it, that way we see it beforehand.
It's a great idea.
I wanted to say that again. I want to reiterate my highlight from the day is just to say thank you to the administrators and the staff for the culture that we have. It's pretty impressive to walk in to the high school and there's a dance contest. They got a little break, and then it seemed like the entire high school is there, and you're walking in, and Miss Hefner's bringing something back for they won, what was it, rock, paper, scissors. Yeah, I mean, like, just making it where it's like, man, I kind of wish I wasn't to school here right now, so.
Well, certainly got plenty of trophies downstairs, so you could repurpose those.
We didn't show you all the other penguins.
I do think the one takeaway is just gratitude for our people, man. I mean, we have operation things that need to be addressed, but gratitude for our people. They're amazing.
Well, it does. It reaffirms why those of us who work in education go into it. It's not about the great fame and fortune that we earn. It's about investing in other people's lives and the sacrifice. And I thought of that a lot when I was in Mr. Bailey's class, and they were talking about the awards that we give to citizens, and he talked about sacrificing for the greater good. And I wanted to get up and say, some of the people that are winning those citizens awards or deserve to win them may be people that you see every day, right? Maybe your teachers, maybe your principals, maybe the lunch ladies that are feeding you lunch.
One comment I would make is, I feel like I've been blessed to be in the buildings a lot with my kids recently through the years, and since serving on the board, oftentimes we're being critical, or we're dealing with, maybe challenges or areas of opportunity. And as we toured everything today, I was kind of expecting it to be that feeling of, just everywhere we looked, something needed to be done. And even though that might have somewhat been the case, it wasn't the feeling I had through the whole process. I was more being distracted by all the good things that were going on, and I guess I ended the day not feeling frustrated about what the State of the Union was, but more excited about the fact that we have a lot of needs, but they're killing it within the boundaries that we have, or the challenges that we have are not interrupting all the positive things that are going on. And I just think that's again, commendable to the staff and the A team for not letting that be an obstacle. And so that was my takeaway, I guess, really in a nutshell, was just that I expected to be frustrated at the end of all of this, and instead I felt kind of excited or inspired about what's going on.
You want to be a write-in too, is what you're saying.
Amen.
That's right. I want to be in the band.
Any other thoughts?
So many. The food was awesome.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
We picked
I
a good
loved,
day.
I got to eat at the high school and
Keep that going around.
that was a lot of fun. I had so much fun eating, and I often don't stop for lunch, but I enjoyed visiting. Like, this is what normal people do. And I was late to the PC because I was so enjoying my food and like just, yeah, so that's a little bit of an overshare, but it was delicious and I enjoyed it. And the other thing is really nothing in addition to what everyone else has said. It's immense gratitude for the work that each of you do. I feel incredibly blessed that I've been able to raise kids here and to be able to volunteer as a person who cares about public education, and it's just an honor to watch you all at work.
Well, I'm glad you got to see what we get to see every day, and I would echo that the administrators are doing a phenomenal job. The culture that you see in the buildings, it starts there and it trickles down through the teachers. You know, there's a book out there Dave Burgess writes, it's Teach Like a Pirate, and he talks about you want to create a culture where kids should feel like they should pay admission to get to class, or your classes must see, and they do that, and it's awesome to be a part of it. We've got some special things happening here, and so I'm glad today that it worked out like this, and I'm excited to know that there is the appetite to continue doing this yearly or more frequently as these big projects come to be. So, all right, that's all I had for the debriefing.
Okay. I move we enter into executive session to discuss superintendent evaluation pursuant to the exception under coma regarding information for non-elected personnel, and the open meeting will resume at 4:35. You think we can do that? Okay, we'll try it.
Are you guys going somewhere, or?
We're gonna go in there.
Okay.
Second that.
All those in favor, please say aye and raise your
Aye.
right hand.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Try to cross.
I'm gonna buy stock in Band-Aid.
I said stop. Do not cross those if you're Andy.
Oh, and I left my phone in there.
I got it.
I move we enter into executive session to discuss the superintendent evaluation for fall of '23 pursuant to the justification under comma for non-elected personnel, and the open meeting will resume. And what time is it?
4:36.
It is 4:36.
446.
4:46.
Second.
All those in
Phil
favor?
got it.
No, I was thinking Andy.
Okay,
I gave it.
so on that one, motion carries 5-0.
Yes.
For the same reason,
Got it?
same people, same purpose,
Same second.
yeah.
Got
And
it.
open meeting will resume at 5. Because I don't want to do this again.
Yeah.
Okay. All those in favor?
Got it,
Thank you.
coming meeting.
What have you done? I know it's.
It was part of the Rat Pack set.
I didn't consent to that.
It's a trap at every corner.
All right.
All we have to do is adjourn.
Okay, make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. Meeting adjourned, 7:04:58.
It is not.
7.
7:04:58.